So, thank you very much for the warm introduction. I am beyond honored and delighted to have not only a dear friend, but somebody who I find to be a huge inspiration. I have my dear friend Noella on the line this afternoon. So, thank you so much, Noella, for joining us. I believe you're in London.
Yes, I'm in London. I'm in England. It's the sun coming out after a very horrible summer. Finally, the sun is here.
Well, it's so wonderful to have you being a part of this important event in the region, which is really highlighting impact investing and why Africa should be at the forefront of this discussion. So again, I think we won't go too much into an introduction, because I think we just want this to be a very informal conversation, to perhaps get a little bit of more of an idea of some of the work that you're doing on the ground, and where you see impact playing a role. And I know a lot of people that are actually listening into this session now are aware of your work, but perhaps, Noella, if you wouldn't mind just starting off with a little bit of an introduction, and to tell us the journey of Malaika and where you are. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you first of all for having me, and I'm so happy to see you virtually, Zara, and I'm waiting for you in London. And I can give you a big hug, and your little beautiful child that you just got. So to tell you a little bit about Malaika. Malaika was founded in 2007 and now comprise a primary and secondary school that provide free holistic education to 370 girls. And in September, we're opening one more classroom, so we will have 400 girls. They arrive at 5 years old and they grow until 18 years old with us. We're offering them all the programs for free, and we give them the breakfast, the lunches, the school uniform, whatever they need to grow as amazing leaders. We also have a community center that we partially built with FIFA that offer education and sport program to over 5,000 youth and adults. We have built and refurbished 20 wells so that 30,000 local have access to clean water and have a sustainable agricultural program that helps feed the student and staff with, like I was saying, with 2 nutrition meals each day. Malaika is really a community-driven ecosystem that can be duplicated in any context around the world. This year, we will be launching a blueprint, a toolkit, how organization, government, individual can duplicate the Malaika ecosystem. We're sharing our success stories, but we're sharing too our challenges and how it's important that the community is involved in every steps of everything that we're doing.
Mm. I mean, it's hugely inspirational, and I think you've just touched on a point that I'd love to know a little bit more about. So, this sort of idea of, although Malaika could traditionally be seen as a philanthropic venture, but this idea of packaging it almost to sort of say to other organizations or to individuals who'd like to invest in this journey, what have been some of the lessons that you've learned on the ground whilst building Malaika?
Malaika was tough to build because, we are working in a remote area called Kalibuka. There's no water access. The roads were terrible. There was no road infrastructure, and there's no electricity. So all the facilities that we have to build is with the green energy, with the solar panel. And we push the government, really lobbying the government to make the road. So 70% of the road was made. But when you start 14 years ago and now, Kalibuka was a bush, and we completely transformed and pioneered the creation of the completely ecosystem for the community development.
So if we then go on to the next question, Noella, so thank you for giving us a little bit of context of how, you built Malaika in such a remote area. Now, as you know, the main theme of this particular...
And I just wanted to build a school, a leadership school for girls. And I discovered so many challenges, discovered so many issues, problems, that the basic needs that the population didn't have. Before we start to build the school, we needed to build a well in order to make the toilet facility, in order to make the bricks. And hundreds of people are coming every day to get the water, to fetch water. And I was like, my God, when we're going to close the school facilities, where this community will go get water? And it's the reason we built over the 14 years, we built 20 wells that impacting more than 30,000 people a year. And then you cannot educate kids without educating the parents or the sibling. Is the reason the community center was born, and where we're teaching the youth, the parents, the brothers, the sister about just basic thing, to learn to read, to learn to count, to learn to write, to have digital skills, to have entrepreneurship skills, to use water, to wash your hand. We distributed over 11,000 mosquito nets because there's so many kids under 5 years old dying of malaria. And the problems go on and on and on. But we try to really to stay focused and strengthening what we built. Because if not, you can completely work every day and helping the world, and then you collapse. And it's the reason a lot of foundations sometimes are not sustainable and don't last long, because the problem is you need to really focus and stick on your mission and stick on your vision. And that's the reason we create the 4 pillars: the school, the community center, water, sanitation, and agriculture.
Thank you so much. And I think for me, what's been interesting about seeing your journey and having known about your journey for many years now is, so I personally work with some of my, investors or people that are keen to get into the impact space. Why, beyond the kind of traditional philanthropy, are there certain ways that you think investors could invest in education, and why should they be investing in education?
Education, we're seeing it, we're seeing the impact of education. Doing education, the last 1 year and a half has completely been disturbed. We have more children out of school in disadvantaged countries than anytime before. Now we need to have strong policy and working with government, with NGOs, how we're going to have children, and especially girls, going back to school. Because a lot of girls now, they're being married, they're being forced to be married, they got pregnant. They're saying more than more than 15 million of girls won't be able to go back to school. And secondly, they got married, they got pregnant, or the family get used to have someone helping them at home. So now we have a huge advocacy to have back children going back to safe environment to learn. And how there's a gap now between kids, because we did a homeschool, or some of them didn't have access to a computer or didn't have access to education. So we need to close the gap, that what they lost in this 1 year and a half, and how we can reassure that kids will go back all at the same level. And the digital gap is huge, and the inequality of digital. So we really have to work. Before, it was 50 million of girls in Saharan didn't have access to education in Sub-Saharan, and now it's even more, millions.
No, that's great to know. And I think for me, one of the key takeaways, and something that I want to explore further, and perhaps this is a discussion for us to have, and maybe in another session once we've done this, Noella, is to really see how we can transform your funding model to have a little bit more of an impact-based opportunity, so that when a donor comes to you, it's not just looking at the philanthropic impact, but looking at potentially, there are so many models out there now. I know that microfinancing, microlending has been turned upside down. And I think more and more people are starting to look at ways that they can innovate their giving, but also make a return on investment. So I think this is something that I would love to explore with you.
It's very important.
Exactly. So it's not just the whole, how do you measure a smile and make somebody feel great for actually donating. But as you said very rightly so, you've now got to think about the funding of Malaika for the next 5 years. And hopefully, if we can use models that impact investing presents to us, that we can perhaps create a bit more of a sustainable model for you, so that you're not having to worry, and God forbid we're not in another pandemic anytime soon. But if there was ever something that will allow you to think about, well, how can I create a model that when I do go out, I don't have to worry about the funding coming. I don't have to worry about a shortage. So I'd love to have a separate conversation with you on that actually, and see how we can
really great.
work together on that. So
and this year we're launching technical classes. 95% of the youth in the village don't have skills. So how to put them in a job market is like you're really saying, how to invest, assist, innovate. So, and we're seeing in the pandemic, the people that are busiest is that the plumber, the painter, the builders. So the technical classes we build in the Congo with Malaika at the community center, it's going to be mechanic and electricity. So the youth going to come to train and learn for 1 year. And then we can help them to find a job, an apprenticeship, and be on the job market and employability. And that's something that I always wanted to do for the youth and the village.
That sounds amazing, and huge congratulations for that and being able to put that together. I know that must have been a lot of work.
Next week, the competition.
Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations. That sounds great. I can't wait to hear how that develops and progresses over time. Why is education important in impact? And what are some of the tangible examples that you can perhaps give us, Noella, that you've seen on the ground through Malaika?
Girls arrive at 5 years old and they grow until 18. They arrive at the school, they don't know, they're living, I always compare a girl living in our Western world and a girl in where we are in Kalibuka. A girl in the Congo don't have a TV, don't have the iPhone, don't have social media. So we growing girls that will have their own personality without any influence, apart the influence, of course, of listening to radio or the influence of the community. And it's so great to see them growing because they're grabbing this chance of education. We're seeing Lorian, that is now 15 years old. She's been 11 years at Malaika school. She wants to become a software engineer. Marceline wants to be a journalist. Kabuta wants to become a physician. So they all have dreams. And it's the ripple effect that we're giving at Malaika. Not only the girls coming at the school, but their parents, the brother, the father, the mother, they're coming at the community center. We have Maman Kaluba. She came at a community center. She didn't know how to read and write. She read, she write, she learned how to use a computer. And now she found a job in town where she's a cashier. Wow. So our work has a real impact in their life and is through education, educating girls to be leaders of tomorrow, but community to have and to learn skills that they can use and find a job. And we're seeing too with Mama Ya Mapendo, the programs we created with mothers, where we teach them about learning, writing skills, numerous, and then entrepreneurship. And when they learn to do sewing, now a lot of them have their own business. And with Malaika, we created a lot of accessories, bags, masks, and all of that. The mask we're donating to the community to help them. But all the accessories we're doing, iPad cover, laptop cover, we're selling them and the money coming back at Malaika. And when the pandemic hit with our 3D printers, a student of 4th secondary, they used to do the mask shield. And we did 2,000 mask shield and distributed over 60 hospitals. So it was a big honor. People could not believe in Kalibuka, in Malaika school, we were able to do this mask shield. And when you talk with the student, they're telling us, we're so proud because we were able to contribute to this crisis in saving and empowering lives. So that at a young age, even themselves, they have this ripple effect and they have the effect on through their knowledge and the skills, how they could help their society and the country.
That's hugely inspiring, and I think for me, this is probably one of the last questions, although this was meant to be the last question.
No problem.
I think what's been really interesting and that you've touched on is that from such a small, remote part of Congo, you've been able to make such an impact, and I think obviously Congo has been the core part of Malaika and its journey, and I know that we talk about Africa and we talk about the whole continent, But as you've seen as well, I mean, you've had people from every corner of the world come and visit Malaika. Why do you feel that the impact community, beyond the philanthropists, should come to Africa, and why should they be investing in Africa now?
Yeah, I think Africa has an enormous, enormous potential. You know, Congo is one of the richest countries in the world, first of all, because what you have in your green cars, the lithium, the cobalt, 70% of the reserves come from Congo. What you have in your laptop, in your phone, more than 60% of the reserves come from Congo with the coltan, etc. So it's a very strategic country, but we need to make sure that our population benefiting it. Where we have infrastructure, where we have health basic, water, quality education, where we will build technological center, where we will polish our own resources and minerals before it's going to be sold in the world. And that's all the steps that us, as the new generation, we want to see. Africa has a huge, huge potential, and the huge potential comes first from individual people. When more nations prosper, I believe we all benefit. You know, people don't benefit of the basic need, and that's a huge problem. You know, myself, and I lost my dad when I was 5. My mom didn't have any resources to keep me. She gave me away. I grew up from families to families. I went to see back my mom after 13 years. So it's a key crucial time for me at 18 years old, going back to see my mother, seeing the way she's living in such under poor condition. And I just didn't want just to help her. I wanted to do something back for my community, for my country. And the diaspora has a huge role on the impact of Africa and the individual. But the Africa, the young generation is 60% of Africa.
Yeah, very true.
So now the young generation has a big saying in what they want and what they don't want. And this is the biggest untapped resources in Africa that we have is the youth. Our youth are amazing, and they're gonna be unstoppable, and they are resilient, they're innovative, they show through the pandemic that they could find solution, and they were there standing on their feet.
I think that's an amazing part to actually probably, before I ask you a very, very concluding question, but I think you touched on, again, a really great point there about the future is the youth. And the next gen in Africa and the talent that is emerging is going to be hugely exciting to watch. And, you know, I can't wait to see some of your...
They're in the music, they're in the fashion, they're in the tech world. We see so many African musicians honing the stage right now, and the culture and the fashion. We see Kennedy Zete with collaborating with Karl Lagerfeld. We're seeing all these amazing singers, Davido, Wizkid, Tiwa Savage. It's amazing, Fally Ipupa, all of them, and I think they have a big part to play in the society. And before we were very traditional. You have to be lawyer, you have to be doctor. Our parents were pushing us for formal jobs, but now we're seeing with sport, culture, with music, with the tech industry, with the social media, with the journalists, the storytelling. There's a new wave of youth in Africa that's so vibrant.
So true. So beautifully put. And Noella, if I may, this is the last question, although, you know, I could speak to you for hours and to understand and hear all the stories of your beautiful girls and Malaika. What would be, and as you said, that you're about to hit 15 years, which is amazing. What would be
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible milestone, and I can't wait to celebrate that with you. But what would be one of the kind of key takeaways that you'd like our attendees to take from today, whether that's the importance of education, whether it's impact investing? You know, what are some of the kind of maybe your key concluding point that you would like our attendees to take away with today?
Keep pushing, really believe in what you do, keep investing in education, because it's the core of a society, of education. Values are very important, and we need to push our government to keep investing in basic needs and to work towards the sustainable goals. The water sanitation, the education, the equality, and all of these goals that the sustainable goals working, we need to work together. And the unity of all of us is very, very key, because we've been through very, very tough times. But when you talk with a mother in Africa, they say, we still have to go. We had war, we have political turmoil, we have malaria, we have Ebola, and we still keep going. We still have to keep going, because there's a generation that's coming and we need to be strong for them.
What a beautiful way to conclude this hugely enriching session. And honestly, Noella, it's forever a pleasure. And I can't wait to see the growth and the continued growth of Malaika. And again, thank you sincerely for your time. It is honestly a huge, huge pleasure. And I wish you a wonderful rest of the afternoon. And thank you once again.
Thank you, Zara, for having me, and anytime another conversation. And I hope you learn a lot. And we are one. We are one community, and that's what counts right now.
It's very, very true. Thank you so very much. And I think I'm sending it over back to the MC. Lots of love.